Let's go. Frosty, baby. Year 2, sophomore slump my ass. He's going to be an all-pro this year, boys. Let's go.
Well, that's true, but also you left out Cinco, which I don't know why Frosty gets all the attention. Nobody talks about Cinco, but whatever, man. If I had to guess right now, you know what's really cool? I see Tim Davis in the chat saying Baron Sorrell. I don't know if you guys have been catching up. The Packers learned once again to take a little bit of a step with their social media team. So what they're doing is they're releasing just like 1 or 2 or 3 minute clips every day in the offseason. And they're breaking up those kind of monotonous like interviews. There was a couple one like, do you believe in aliens? Like there was one like, what's your biggest fear? I think the one they released today was if you could eat a dinner with 3 people, who would you eat with? And everybody kind of had unique stuff. Right. Everybody, you know, some people said Elon Musk, a bunch of actors, musicians, singers, football players. They went to Baron Sorrell, and the kid, like as humble as can be, he's like, man, I haven't seen my mom and my dad and my brother for a while. I'd like to eat dinner with them and have a family dinner. And I swear, like, it almost choked me up, dude. I was like, God, this kid is so good. Like, I'm almost waiting to see, like, what are you lying about? Like, where's the cracks? Like, what kind of guy are you really? Because you're putting on this facade. I don't think it's a facade. I think that everybody that's ever played with the kid, I mean, you talk about his teammates. They asked him almost the same question. Like, if you had to go to the big leagues or if you had to go to the NFL, who would you rather be and take with you? And almost every single one of them, if I'm not mistaken, in that interview process said Baron Sorrell. Therefore, he is now a Packer.
Love it, dude. Love it. Yeah, I mean, listen, Baron Sorrell is one of those players that we love the backstory. We love the player as a person. I just hope he goes out there and balls out on the field, because if so, man, he's going to fit right in to a leadership role 2-3 years down the road. You know, and that stuff's huge for culture. So top defensive players here, according to PFF, we'll just go down the line. Edgerrin Cooper, 85. Xavier McKinney, 84. Zane Anderson, 80. Somebody we've stopped talking about a little bit, man. That makes me feel so good knowing that Zane took a step forward under Jeff Hafley as opposed to, you know, the prior coaching staff, and him being able to kind of raise his game up that, hey, if we need him to step in a pinch on defense at the safety position. I feel even at the slot, I would trust him in the slot if we're playing just a simple zone defense and not asking him to play mod or anything like that. I would trust him to play just simple spot drop. Rashawn Gary, 73. Katano Ladapo, another safety, 72. Evan Williams, 72. Ola Home Depot, love it. Brenton Cox Jr., Jacob, you ever heard of him? 67. Devontae Wyatt, 66. Carrington Valentine, 65. Keyshawn Nixon, 64. Aaron Mosby, 62. Omar Brown, 62. Carl Brooks, 61. Nate Hobbs, 61. Tyron Hopper, 60. Kenny Clark, 60. Quay Walker, 57. So on and so forth. Shout out to Clint, the armchair quarterback. Thank you so much, Clint. He just gifted 10 Packer Fan Total Access memberships to 10 people that are watching right now. It randomly picks them, and all 10 of you will be entered into our next giveaway, which will probably be next weekend. We're going to be giving away a Josh Jacobs jersey card. Got a jersey patch in it. Really, really cool piece of memorabilia there. So all you got to do is hit that join tab, be a member here on YouTube, or join our Patreon group, patreon.com/Packer Fan Total Access. Thank you so much, Clint. You are the man. Anything else you guys want to hit on the defensive side here before we dive into position groups? And if you guys got a certain position group you want to hit first, let me know. Let's do it.
Can I just bring one thing up? And I know it's going to sound like a broken record, but I really am sincerely proud. I'm sincerely proud of the way that Brenton Cox Jr. has elevated his game from becoming a UDFA that nobody wanted to take a stab on, even though he was one of the highest touted edge rushers in, I believe, wasn't he at Georgia? They're like, get out of here. And he went to Florida. They basically said, get out of here. He went to the Green Bay Packers, and everybody thought this is not the type of fit. You know, this is not the kind of guy that the Packers play or that they'll even have in-house, because they don't want to risk the reputation to that organization and to the community. Also, the guy was if you watch his highlight reel, awesome. It's amazing, right? But if you watch the other 90% of his tape, constantly overrunning, constantly not being able to set an edge, constantly making missing shoestring tackles and arm tackles. What I've seen from him is progression through a man as a player, as a staple of the community, as somebody that's completely kept his nose clean. I've never heard about him getting in any kind of trouble whatsoever. And then to grade out at a 67.2, again, that doesn't pop off the page. That's a really solid guy. And I want to see the defensive snaps increase for him, because I think that with his increase in snaps, that defensive line, specifically the edge rotation, is going to be just way better. And you look at down there, you see guys like Kingsley and Igbare down there. We need somebody to take that spot, because I thought Kingsley was going to take a step last year. I didn't see it. I saw Brenton Cox take a massive step and kind of step over him, in my opinion.
I think you're right. And I think that with the rumor mill kind of suggesting that possibly Rashawn Gary and or LVN may kick inside in this defense this year, it may be a chance for a guy like Brenton Cox Jr. to really eat at the edge position.
Yeah. And so since you guys brought it up here with Brenton Cox Jr., let's just look at the edge room right now. Rashawn Gary, 73, Brenton Cox Jr., 67, Aaron Mosby, 62, Kingsley Igbare, 56, Lucas Van Ness, 52, as we talked about, kind of the tale of two halves of the season. The back half of the season, Lucas Van Ness actually really started to crank it up. Finished the year with a higher quarterback pressure percentage according to NFL Pro and Next Gen Stats, as both Max Crosby and TJ Watt finishing it darn near a 12% there. So
Max Crosby.
Stop it.
Yeah. Ed Madden, Brenton's a young guy who is maturing. Yeah. And, listen, the reality is he did get in trouble in college, man. He did. Right. No problem so far in Green Bay, man. Got that second chance. And I don't know about you guys. I want my defensive players to have a little bit of an edge to them too. I don't want them to hurt anybody. I don't want them to be like you said, Jacob, anything other than a pillar of the community. But man, he's kept his nose clean, and the reality is he's grading out as our second best edge rusher right now. And that's why, listen, don't hesitate to get him on the field. If you got to split him and Lucas Van Ness 50-50 on the snaps, do it. I'm good with it. I just want that quarterback to feel some pain. That's all I care about.
I just look at that list right there, and to me, the fact that that Kingsley Igbare was at 538 snaps compared to Brenton's 187. Am I reading that correctly?
What is it now?
I'm looking at snap count here. So defensive snap count, if you have Brenton Cox at 187 and Kingsley at 538, split that in half. I mean, I'd love to see the production after that. I mean, I really honestly believe, and I'm not hating on Kingsley whatsoever, but when you see something, you got to say something when they're out performing one another that drastically, and one of them has almost 4 times the snaps. We got to remedy that. No,
completely agree. Could not agree more, man. And listen, I was a big Kingsley guy coming out of the draft, coming out of college. Tim, we did that. Me and Ryan did a live draft stream, and he was the best player on my board for like 3 straight rounds before we took him. Right. And he was one of those guys that you see the year before going into the college football season, he was grading out as a first round pick. And by the end of the college football season, all of a sudden he had sank on boards, and he was still kind of high on my board, because you guys know I get the information in a lot earlier. So we remove a little bit of that off-season noise. But I'm with you, Jacob. Tim, do you agree, man? Like, take the 538 snaps that Igbare had, give that to Lucas Van Ness, right? And then the 458 that Lucas Van Ness had, give that to Brenton Cox Jr. I'd be on cloud 9.
I agree. And then you get a guy like Colin Oliver and Baron Sorrell to step up as rookies. And, hey, it's starting to click, right? And Aaron Mosby doesn't get a lot of credit. A guy who's an asset on special teams and has played some meaningful snaps for us and is progressing, in his own right as well. So, I mean, the edge room looks good, but I'm with you, man. And it's not a knock on Kingsley at all. I think he's just one of those guys that I hate to say it, but did he hit the ceiling already? I don't know. Maybe it's
wasn't he coming off of a pretty major coming if I'm not mistaken? Wasn't he coming back from an injury?
We thought he tore his ACL or something, right? Jake, you talking about?
It turned out he didn't. It turned out he didn't, right? No
That's
surgery.
What I'm saying.
Yeah. So, correct. But still a knee injury. I mean, a knee injury is a knee injury. Try and run around and cut with a bad knee. Even a sprain can really screw up your game. So, I mean, it's like I said, I'm not trying to drag him, but it seems like he's kind of plateaued or maybe approaching that ceiling. And, if he doesn't pop right away, you've got guys waiting in the wing. Like we said, Colin Oliver, Baron Sorrell, Colin Oliver being a dual threat guy, a guy you can play at stackbacker as well. So I think he's going to find his way onto this team somehow. But I would love to see more snaps for Brenton Cox and LVN for sure.
Honestly, too, like,
go ahead, Jake,
I was just going to say, Clint Armchair was talking about Mosby's coverage grade there, 75.8, and everybody will say, well, that's only on 13 snaps. Well, guess what? The other guys that lead the team had two. The biggest one we had was Kingsley at 30, and then Lucas Vaness with 11. So he's got the second most snaps covering, doing that whole Preston roll that nobody ever does, right? Joe Barry's the only one that does this.
6'4", with a 75 coverage grade. Come on,
that's pretty cool, man. Honestly.
Yeah, and now listen, this is what we talked about on Chalk Talk all year last year. You kept hearing us say 55 drop, right? That's the way I identify a fire zone blitz where we drop one of our defensive ends into coverage is I will call out their number and drop, right? And we said 55 drop a lot last year. 30 times Kingsley Enagbare dropped into coverage. Lucas Van Ness dropped into coverage 11 times. Aaron Mosby dropped into coverage 13 times. That whole crowd that just thought they were so damn cute, saying Joe Barry was the only moron that would drop a defensive lineman into coverage. I said, watch. It's going to happen this year. It happens on every defense. I showed footage of TJ Watt dropping into coverage all the time, and nobody complains about that. I'm telling you, it's a part of playing defense in the NFL. You've got to be able to run those simulated pressures, fire zone blitz, which is essentially you're bringing a nickel back or you're bringing a mock backer on a blitz and you're dropping a defensive lineman back into coverage. Nobody was complaining about the fire zone blitz when BJ Raji took it to the house for a pick 6 in the NFC Championship against Chicago, right? That's the type of stuff you do to make quarterbacks post-snap read. And again, I would just about say that Jeff Hafley had our edges, our defensive ends, dropping into coverage more than Joe Barry did. I'd love to go back and look at that number, to be honest with you. So now, Enagbare, according to his coverage grade here, if we were to say PFF is everything, 56.5, didn't grade out that well. Look at LVN, 68.1, only on 11 dropbacks, but doing a good job taking away that hot read and some of those throwing lanes. Imagine Lucas Van Ness, 6'5", 272 pounds, standing in a throwing lane, 3 yards off the line of scrimmage, dropping into coverage, almost playing a little mock spy, and then looking to bat the ball down. That stuff matters, man, because when you're simulating pressure and you're showing blitz from one direction, typically your hot is opposite the pressure. So if they're showing a nickel blitz and a mock fire on the same side of the field over to their right, guess what the quarterback's going to do? His eyes are going to go to his hot on the left, and all of a sudden, LVN 6'5" is standing in a throwing lane back there in zone defense, in zone coverage. Those are the type of things that good defensive coordinators do to force quarterbacks to hesitate just a little bit. And that's when you hit home with that pressure. You either force the throw and throw a pick, or you hesitate and get your clock clean on the backside.
Yep.
So
that's how good things happen, right? We saw that a lot last year, right? Get your hands up, you get a tip ball, something like that. It's the name of the game, man.
Yeah, and when you look at defensive, exactly. When you look at defensive ends, we kept 6 coming out of camp last year, right? Let's talk about what those 6 may be here. Rashawn Gary, Brenton Cox Jr., right? Lucas Van Ness, Colin Oliver, Barron Sorrell. That's 5. So what it comes down to is, who are you keeping? Aaron Mosby, Kingsley Enagbare, or Deslin Alexander? I think it's between Kingsley and Aaron Mosby.
Yep,
PFF would say it should be Mosby, Jacob. Who would you take, Enagbare or Mosby here, man? Because Mosby played the drop game, 13 snaps, right? To, granted, Enigbare's 30, but his coverage grade, that 75.8, 6'4", 245 pounds. I mean, right here is saying that Mosby should be the guy.
Yeah, that's a tough one to me, honestly. Again, I just feel like Kingsley may, like Tim said, I don't think that he's completely washed or anything like that, but I'm just wondering if those injuries have limited what his ceiling can be. And does anybody know in the chat, if you could let me know how old they are both? Oh, here we go. They say Aaron Mosby at 0. They got Kingsley at 25 and a half, basically. I want to say that I think Aaron Mosby is younger, but the idea of him in that coverage grade, that's a tough one. I think I'd still have to go with Enagbare if you really put the pressure on me, just because of the draft capital that we spent on him being a little bit more, I think, polished with the type of competition he played in college and just the amount of snaps he's had in the pros, And Mosby always looks great in certain situations, but a lot of that's cleanup time. A lot of that's
you ready for this, Jacob?
What's going on?
Mosby's older than Enigbari.
All right, so then that kind of made right here. Bates just confirmed it. Thank you, Bates. He's like our Jamie, the Joe Rogan. He's the guy. I love it. But yeah, so that all being said, I think that made the decision for me then. That being the straw that broke the camel's back, I'd like to stick with Enigbari, give him another year.
I think so too. Just to back up your point, when I was looking at those PFF numbers, obviously Mosby's got the edge with coverage, but JJ Enigbari is a pure pass rusher. The pass rush grade is through the roof in comparison to Mosby. The run defensive grade is comparable as well. So those are factors you got to consider too.
Yeah, so if we go away from PFF, they said Mosby, right? But we're all kind of leaning toward Enigbari, right? Enigbari had a 9.4% pressure rate, quarterback pressure percentage, according to NFL Pro and Next Gen Stats, all right? Mosby, 8.5%, right? So that kind of, to me, that's the deciding factor there, right? Enigbari finished with 4.5 sacks. Mosby only had a half a sack. But again, you go to the pressure percentage because that gives you a good little sample size of what kind of pressure rate they have with the limited snaps if it's start comparison there. So
Clayton, who's number one on that list?
Number one on that list is Brenton Cox Jr. at 13.7%, Jacob.
That's a nice guy.
Correct. What's crazy, Jacob, is when you look at his run D snaps, he had 59 run defensive snaps, right? And he had 9 stops.
Wow.
That's pretty good. Pretty darn good when you think about run stop percentage. Now, second on the list, Rashawn Gary, 13.4%. He also led the team with 7.5 sacks. And when you look at his stops, 39 run stops. And I did the math on this. He had a higher quarterback pressure percentage, according to NFL Pro, than both TJ Watt and Max Crosby. And he also had a higher run stop percentage than both TJ Watt and Max Crosby. And with far fewer snaps, pass rush snaps, he had the same amount of sacks as Max Crosby. And when you broke it down, if you broke it down in terms of sacks per pass rush attempt, he was 1 sack behind TJ Watt. TJ Watt finished with 11. And and if you gave Gary the same amount of pass rush snaps as TJ Watt got, because we do a much heavier rotation, obviously, than Pittsburgh does, it would have came out to 10.5 sacks for Gary, and TJ Watt finished with 11.5. Just want to point that out there. So, Jacob, I'm with you, dude. Everything screams Brenton Cox Jr. is the second best pass rusher on this team. Now, if Brenton Cox Jr. was a first-round pick and LVM was an undrafted free agent, Brenton Cox Jr. would be starting. There's no doubt in my mind. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, now, we'll see what LVN does this year. Again, when you look at the pressure percentage, though, look who's third. LVN, 11.2%. That's what we were talking about, right? Finished with 3 sacks as well, and he had 19 run stops. I thought he was very, very underrated in the run game for sure. Because
Clayton, is there any way to filter this search to see like the back half of the season? Because again, we've all talked about how we got off to a real slow start, but down that back stretch, if I remember correctly, I think Ryan's podcast was talking about how Brenton was at like 18%. Lucas was at like 16. Gary was at we had dudes absolutely just being dogs at the back end of this. And if we could maintain that sort of fire, that Dylan fire, in the beginning of this new season and all the way through, hot fire. I spit hot fire. I really do think that this could be an absolute. We talked about how transformative the safety room was from the year before to this past year. This could be another one of those times we take a step back and be like, holy crap, that defensive line, even though they're the same guys, they took a massive step. Whereas in the safety room, we basically replaced everybody. We spent a bunch of draft capital there. With the defensive line room, I think we switched the coach. We have a few guys that were not like more than one that were first round draft picks that we just need to come into their own. Do you see that happening possibly?
I don't know. First of all, to answer your question, there's no way that I can do that on NFL Pro other than go back and look at each individual game log and find it that way. I think PFF will allow you to, cycle through certain percentages of the season. But for me personally, It doesn't mean anything to me when you look at those stats tallied and they don't have the tape to back it up. And again, I know you guys, if you're regulars here, you hear me talk about this all the time. It means everything to me that I can click on any of these statistics and watch the plays, right? So they're going, here's how we came up with this stat, as opposed to PFF going, just trust us. You know? So, me don't like you that, Jen. So what was the other question, Jake? I'm sorry.
No, just that. Do you think that momentum from the back end of the year, because now that we've gotten rid of that defensive line coach, do you think that they can carry that into this new year and have a new spark? Like, I mean, they've shown that they can do it. It's just what I don't know what wasn't happening at the beginning of that season.
Right. And they kind of had to find their footing, right? Like, and you could tell, in my opinion, I could be wrong, just watching the tape with my ignorant eyes, it looks like Jeff Apley was saying, listen, boys, we're stopping the run. Don't worry about getting to the quarterback. We stop the run and we make them play behind schedule, them being opposing offenses, right? Make them play behind schedule the entire time, and they're eventually going to make a mistake. And then when you get up by a score or two, pin your ears back. Go watch the Tennessee game. I was right there in the stands. I was a couple Captain Morgans deep, but I was right there in the stands. And let me tell you, buddy, I looked over at my wife and I said, one more score, and we can turn the dogs loose. Scored one more time, and boy, did they turn the dogs loose. It was awesome watching LVN eat in that game. So, yeah, I think that's a real thing, Jacob. It's what we talk about. Go back to draft talk, right? What do we always say that Greg Cosell says? That you're looking for ascending players. You're looking for players who are playing their best ball and they're getting better as they enter the league. It's no different carrying over that momentum to the next year, in my opinion. And here's what's cool. When they do their exit interviews, Tim, the coaches go in and go, hey, here's what we want you to work on. Here's what you did good. Here's what you did bad. Work on these 3 aspects of your game. We want you to put on 10 pounds. We want you to shave off 7 pounds, right? And they're making those adjustments to get even more out of those players. So, and the guys that take it serious, I think they're the ones that will make that jump. Would you answer that the same way that Jacob's question there, Tim? Do you think that does carry over to the next year? I think it does.
I do. I agree. And it would explain like what you're just talking about. Look at Edge Coop. You know, he's up, almost 20 pounds now. You get guys that go the opposite way. They're asked to cut weight.
Right.
You know, we were making jokes about Deebo Samuel a couple of days ago, looking a little thicker than usual coming into a preseason. And
Cheeseburger Eddie.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, I saw some tape on Deebo today, and it looks like he shredded off about half of that weight already.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah. So,
Ozempic, baby, shout out, sponsor the show.
You know, whatever you got to do, but I like Cooper as the example, right? You know, they saw, you know, they did that exit interviews, you know, went over his rookie tape. We know he's a film junkie too, just like we are. You know, he's watching tape, and clearly they asked him to put on a little more weight, and he's done it. And you know, it's part of football. So I do think there is carryover, especially when you're a younger player, right? I mean, you're building that momentum. You know, rookie year to year 2, year 3, you get one crack at it, trying to really get that first big contract in the